Hello. Um, welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another YouTube live session where we'll be looking at Aparokshanubhuti, which is a great non-dual text, again by our beloved Adi Shankaraji, who really brings the non-dual philosophy to an easier way of understanding. Sometimes it can be quite complex, it can be quite deep, and but I think Adi Shankaraji allows us to understand non-duality through a very easy way, through a very systematic way with the foundational texts that he had written. So if you haven't been, if this is, hey Conrad, so if this is your first time coming onto these lives where I discuss the foundation text, then just to let you know, I've already done Tattva board and Atma board. So those two I've already done, and they're in the playlist, I believe. Hopefully they're all on there, which is of the foundation text playlist. So so we'll get started on this in a minute. We'll give a few minutes for people to come, but the one thing I do want to say that Aparokshanubhuti means the direct experience of reality. So today I came across a video and I was debating whether to do a reaction to it, and it was about it's some Hare Krishna guy called Amor Leela, I think. The text, the video is in Hindi. I'm able to do a reaction video if needed on that. But I know that some of my audience is from the West, and you may not understand Hindi, so it'd be quite difficult to do a reaction series to or reaction video to that particular video where he kind of he dismisses Advaita Vedanta in the most childish way, where it'd be very easy to counter, um, give counterpoints to his dialogue. So So, yes, let me send it to you, Takuji. I watched it today and I was just horrified that this guy is able, and he has a big following. Um, some of you that may know Beer Biceps, the Ranveer show, he was part of that um, not long ago. Um, so, yeah. Um, but yeah, let me get this video and then I'll send it to you. But yeah, I wasn't too pleased with it, so um it's yeah, that's very true. Hi Anand. So yeah, Beer Biceps would interview anyone. That's pretty true. Um so yeah, but it's just really weird. Like the guy was so this Amor Leela guy or whatever his name is, he was just really childish and the way he like I don't know. I've seen serious Hare Krishnas and I can just about digest them. He was just you could not digest the things that he was saying. It was just so outlandish. Um and it's interesting because the one thing I noticed that is that he's done a lot. He's done some English videos, but he's never done an English video on Advaita Vedanta, and I wonder why. Because I think he knows that the majority of the people that probably are into this type of philosophy are more fluent in English. So if for some reason I think that's what it is, especially if you post on YouTube, you may have this image. So yeah, today I was pretty annoyed at that, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna definitely do a reaction video to it." And then I just stopped myself, and I was like, you know, I'll just wait and I'll see. Maybe so Takuji will be doing. He'll do the subtitles, and then I'll do a reaction video. Um, yeah. So, but let's start with Aparokshanubhuti. This is an amazing text. I've only read it once before a long time ago. Um, but all I remember from it is that it's very direct. So we'll go into it now. We'll go into the first verse, and so what I'm gonna do is just gonna go through some verses, and in the chat you can write any of the questions you have, any um, comments, any discussions. Maybe I've missed something out in terms of an explanation. Provide it. We're all learning together, so it's not it's not just because it's on my channel doesn't mean that I have to be the one that knows it all. I don't know much at all. I am learning along with you, and this is the whole point of me doing these series, is so I learn alongside with you, and that's more fruitful for me than say reading it by myself. This way I can actually talk about it without looking crazy to my neighbors by talking to myself about what this might mean, or being in amazement. um let's look at the first verse. So, as we know, by the tradition that Adi Shankaraji does, he does always give his gratitude to the Lord. So here he praises Hari, Lord Hari, which is a form of Vishnu, the one that is all pervasive. So that aspect of Vishnu. Um, but again, it's all about the Supreme Self, and that's what he's hinting upon. So, I bow to Lord Hari, who takes away the sins of his devotees, meaning Vishnu, who is the preacher of supreme bliss, the controller of all pervasive, and the cause of all the worlds. So, again, so this is interesting. In the beginning, he's now talking about the saguna aspects, the attribute aspects, so all pervasive, the cause of all the worlds, the controller of all. And really, you would think that what he's talking about is some other thing, but what he's talking about really is our own true nature. But in the context of this, because he's writing a text, he's invoking that higher aspect. um One can see it as that non-dual self. This is where that Amog Leela guy does not understand um that we also respect the saguna aspects, the attributes. So here, um, Shankaraji, he meant Adi Shankaraji, he talks about the main characteristics of the supreme reality, which is it's absolutely blissful, it's all pervasive, and the ultimate cause of all. Remember that Maya, or this world, or this universe of Mithya, is the cause of all that is Brahman. So and this is proven by the Brahma Sutras too. So in the Brahma Sutras, it is said that the supreme reality, Brahman, is that from which the origin, sustenance, and dissolution of this world take place. So we automatically know from the Brahma Sutras that that is the case. And then on top of that, in the Taittiriya Upanishad, it is said that the supreme reality is eternal, has a form of knowledge, and infinite. So we know that what we're worshipping is that supreme reality, that is Gyan itself, that is knowledge, and also is bliss unbound, uncreated bliss, that Anand, and it doesn't have any attachment to anything, it's not bound by anything. And that will inspire us. That's going to get us through this text. So, with that understanding, that we're going to address the text knowing the supreme reality. So then verse 2 is, now the method of direct experience is described to attain liberation. This should be contemplated by the noble persons diligently and repeatedly. So again, the importance here is that we need to know. So Shankaraji, first of all, he's telling us what's going to happen, what we should expect. So giving us a bit of a teaser, so to speak, a trailer that this is what's going to happen. We're going to get you to directly experience, and this is the same as attaining liberation. Then This should be contemplated by noble persons diligently and repeatedly. Let's use this as an example that those that have the desire to know Brahman, those that are pure and have a clear heart, who are at least trying to work upon their spirituality. Let's make it to this point. Those that are honest and transparent about their spirituality, those people I would say are noble people, and these people should contemplate on these teachings diligently and repeatedly. So until we get this, we can keep coming back to this video, to these lives, or we can read the text ourselves, which is available online. Yeah, Shankaracharya really is the goat. I agree. He is absolutely awesome. The fact is, um, without him, without his foundational knowledge, we cannot understand non-duality. And it's really important to understand the foundational text, to really understand the deeper hidden meanings of the Upanishads, especially of the Mahavakyas, what they really mean. Because it's very easy for someone to turn around and say Tattvamasi or Aham Brahmasmi without understanding the true meaning of those Mahavakyas. So this is why knowing these texts, or at least studying these texts, will get us to enhance our spirituality. So the third verse is, when one follows his duty with austerity as per social order and age, it results in the pleasure of Lord Hari. Then one attains the four means of liberation, such as non detachment, etc. So let's explain this. So the sequence to attain that purity of mind is basically you follow your duties, which means that you follow the duties that you're given in this world. Earn a good living, uh, earn a livelihood with honest means. I would say that'd be more precise. Look after your family, look after your loved ones, be kind to others, be compassionate. Don't cheat other people for your own gains, that type of thing. Live with austerity. So live in simplicity. Austerity, sometimes people think means, living completely um, without any kind of possessions. I think that's unrealistic in today's day and age. So we have to analyze it according to today. We can live maybe a minimalist life, but I would say just lead a simple life where nothing should become overwhelming for you. So, live within your means, basically, is what Adi Shankarji is meaning by austerity, especially in today's day and age. I think that is austerity. Um, I think giving up possessions is a lot easier than living in simplicity, because with simplicity, you have to think, you have to analyze, do I need this? Do I want this? Does this bring me joy? That whole Marie Kondo thing. That's the kind of thing we have to consider. And this will, please Hari. And then through his grace, we will get the required capability to attain liberation. So remember, in the beginning, he invokes Lord Hari, Vishnu, and then again, he invokes Lord Vishnu again to say it results in the pleasure of Lord Hari. So, we will gain the joy of being connected to um, to Vishnu. So, and it's only with his grace that we attain liberation. So, and again in the Gita in chapter 10, verse 10, it says that those who are constantly devoted to me and worship me with love, I give them intelligence by which they come to me. Now, again, this is talking about the merging aspect. We have to understand what Sri Krishna really means by this. And it's basically when you worship with love, when you worship with that, I would say, tenderness to kind of improve yourself. That's the kind of feeling you want to get. So the fourth verse is, the pure detachment is when one treats the enjoyments related to any object in the realm of Brahma, down to the trees, as equivalent to the excreture of a crow. I guess it's on about the excretion of a cow of a crow. So first of all, detachment from the sensual pleasures is the first step. So what this means is it doesn't mean that you completely stop enjoying the pleasures of the world. What it means is that you're more aware, and you don't say that this is the eternal joy. You know the temporary joys of these material possessions. You are aware of it, so therefore you will not be attached to it. The thing is, it's only when you think that this can give you everlasting joy, you become attached to those things. So, this is the one way, which is the first step, is to have detachment. So, don't have any attachments um, to the enjoyments of the world. Just realize that they're temporary in nature, and that soon as you enjoy them, let them go. Don't keep thinking about the experience. So for example, as I use in my podcast, that slice of chocolate cake, once I've eaten that chocolate cake, that slice, I should forget about it. I shouldn't keep contemplating about that slice of chocolate cake, that it disturbs me during the day, the night. Even in my dreams, I'm thinking of the chocolate cake. That shouldn't be um, the way. So, again, we need to understand these through proper means, and that is, just remember that all this is temporary. Even your joy and your pleasure is temporary. So don't get attached to it. It's really simple, not complicated. All we need is discernment, to understand what is real and unreal, which is real is changeless, and unreal is changing. Very simple. Um, Again, I know this stuff is simply said and more difficult to process and practice, but once practiced, it will get easier. Normally, because the biggest hindrance to practice is our own mind. So we think about what will happen if we practice something without even practicing it. So how can we attain anything if we're going to be like that? So that's something we have to understand. So practice means that we have to get out of the mind and actually, you know, really put it into action, and then see whether something is worth applying to or not, you know? So, if we want to move into the realm of the eternal world, we need to drop those passions which are binding us in this changing, ephemeral world. So, we need to understand that if we want to move to that everlasting joy, that bliss, that anand, that boundless and birthless bliss, that will always be there, that's everlasting, we have to go beyond the ephemeral world, the changing temporary pleasures. We have to go beyond them. So, avoiding negative actions is the first step towards a positive beginning. And negative actions is whenever we act according to those temporary pleasures, when we seek those temporary pleasures at whatever cost, even if it means it destroys our buddhi, our discernment. So that's the first. So that's one of the first ones to understand as the first step towards liberation is to detach ourselves from the sensual pleasures. Enjoy the world until you no longer need to exhaust the karma of desire. I absolutely agree, Conrad. I couldn't actually agree even more with you, because it's so true. It's best to enjoy the world, exhaust the karma, or exhaust your attachment to the desires and the outcomes of desires, and then you'll see that they actually have no meaning. uh, to bypass that is to take it through the aspect of gyan and to really practice this, but it does take time, uh, and you have to be patient with yourself as well. So yes, so let's get to the next verse. So the next verse is, the self or the seer is eternal and the seen is transient. This conviction is the right discrimination about all entities. This is really deep. So when we regularly think what is eternal and what is not, that attachment for non permanent objects automatically wears away. So this is the bypassing of, what Conrad talks about, where enjoy the world until you no longer need to, exhaust the gamma of desires or exhaust the outcomes of those desires. This is the bypass. Uh, but this bypass is not so much of a bypass as much as it does require work. So the self or the seer is eternal. So that which sees pleasure, that which the seer of pleasure, the seer of enjoyment, the seer that looks at the object of enjoyment, that is eternal. That does not change according to whatever pleasure you give to it, nor what pain you give to it. It just sees. It's the seer. The scene is transient. The seer and the scene. The scene is always transient. The picture is always transient. It changes. Like the screen of a movie, the screen in which the movie is projected to is changeless, but the movie itself has differing images with differing scenes and differing characters, and everything is changing all the time. So what this is what we need to understand, that the self or the seer is eternal and the scene is transient. The seer and the scene. Dishya Vivek, basically. Um, so the changeless seer is completely different from the changing scene. And this is something we can directly experience when we automatically know that the it is us that sees everything that happens to us. It is us that watches the changes happen to the body. It is us that see the changing aspects of the world. Despite everything else changing around us, the watcher has not changed at all. The observer within us has not changed at all. So that's what's being talked about here. If you just joined, do like this video. Um, it's really good. If you can get people to join. And also, if you if you want to share this with someone who may enjoy it, do share it with them. So yes, so let's look at the sixth verse, which is, I was trying to find it then. So sixth verse is, giving up the desires at all times is termed as shama, mental control. And the control of external actions, habits, is called dhamma, uh, physical control. So control of the mind such that the desires do not even appear in the mind is called shama. So we have to constantly work on this. It's a very important practice. So whenever a desire appears, we have to let it go. Now, for example, we may always desire to have that extra slice of cake, or we may have the desire to buy another car, or now that we're on Amazon, it's very easy to just say buy now, buy now. It's if we did that and we actually gave into our impulses all the time, we would be either bankrupt or completely obese, or definitely will have diabetes if we continuously ate that slice of chocolate cake. So the thing is, you have to have mental control. You have to look at the desires and be like, you know what, I don't want to eat anymore. You have to. So it's basically like the mind is going to be putting the mind under control. Yeah. So the mind is going to be putting the mind under control. That's what's going to be happening. And we do it all the time. For example, when we're at the gym and we want to push a bit, do a few more reps, that's exactly what we do. We talk to the mind, say, you got to do it. Or say, we've got to meditate for 30 minutes. Say we get to 25 minutes and we're like, maybe it's time for me to check the clock, and see how much time I've got left. But it's when you control the mind, say, you know what, just carry on. Whenever the 30 minutes comes up, the alarm will go off. Start again on the meditation. So that's the type of thing that we're talking about. Um, So that's shama, mental control. And the control of external actions, which is habits, is called dhamma. So if somehow the desires do appear in our mind, then controlling of our sense organs is called dhamma. So, for example, say if there's that slice of chocolate cake right in front of me, I'm absolutely full. I've already had two slices of cake. This will be my third one. So instead of so maybe my mind is like, go and eat that cake, it's fine. Nothing will happen. Don't worry. It's when I stop the sense objects. So I stop myself from walking there. I stop myself from thinking of the smells of the uh, chocolate cake, the taste of it. I go beyond all that. So the control of our sense organs is called Dhamma. So Gita says that the control of sense organs and mind leads to tranquility, which is true because in chapter 2, verse 68, it says, therefore, O mighty armed, referring to Arjun, he who has properly controlled his senses from attachment in all sense objects, his intellect is steady. And this is the way to steady the mind. So, again, verse 6, very great, easy practice to do. You can practice this in your own home. Uh, what's required is a certain quietness where we can actually start listening to the mind and start seeing and listening to the thoughts of the mind, watching the thoughts of the mind. This can happen when we become more meditative, I would say. The more we meditate, the more we can listen to the subtle voices that are there in the mind, or the subtle thoughts that are there in the mind. When I say voices, I mean thoughts. Um, but yeah, so this is um, basically Shama and Dhamma. So having physical control from going to get the desire, mental control is when you can actually stop it from the level of thought. Um, so Conrad says, couldn't that be seen as ego controlling, which is the opposite of what is the desired outcome? Or is this using the ego in a useful way that is beneficial for enlightenment? Yes, exactly. The latter point, using the ego for the beneficial aspects of enlightenment. Just remember, if you see the ego as an enemy, it will be the enemy. If you see the ego as a friend for you to for it to help in enlightenment, you won't be hell bent on destroying it. Actually, your way of approaching it is different. So therefore, the ego will never feel under threatened, even though it's being attacked, which is an interesting um, way of thinking about it. By allowing it, by you observing and giving it the power to utilize itself, you're actually overpowering it. You are taking the power away from it. So that's exactly what is happening. And that's what we do. We do this constantly, actually. But most of the times we give in to the ego and we allow the ego to run amok. But this time, now that you're being aware and utilizing the ego thinks it's won a battle, but you just won the war. That's the difference. So it's really interesting. So these practices, like I said, these practices are wonderful because they can make it real for you. And these are little steps to show you that there's something more beyond. We haven't got to the ultimate reality yet. We're still looking at the body and mind. But the thing is, we're now opening the scene up, you could say, for there being an observer, which is that ultimate reality. So it's like a transition from passive ego to active ego, yes. And the thing is, you're gonna need ego to function in life. Sometimes it's wrong when we say that we're looking to destroy the ego. I would say the more precise way would be to destroy the power of the ego, meaning that the ego is running the ship. It shouldn't be the ego, it should be awareness running the ship. So, and actually, awareness is always running the ship, but the ego has taken temporary control, and we think it's a permanent control. So, all we're doing is redefining the duties again and saying, you know what, you're not meant to be on, this is not your permanent position. This is actually your temporary position. So don't see the ego as an enemy. I think that's the worst thing that people do, because they spend all their lives trying to get rid of the ego, when really the ego can never be destroyed. While you're in this body, it is going to be present. The only difference is that the ego doesn't control you anymore. That's the only difference. So that's the whole point. In my opinion, that's better than saying we have to destroy the ego. The fact is, by you taking control, you've already destroyed its power. So, you know, you don't need to threaten it by saying, I'm going to destroy you, ego. I'm going to dissolve your ego. All you do is you give the ego to the Lord, to that all pervasive energy, and that's all. If we want to use the saguna aspect to help us understand and help us progress spiritually. So verse 7 is total abandonment of the sense objects is the ultimate detachment. The patient endurance of all the pains is known as the extreme forbearance, which is the diksha. It is considered as auspicious. This is a very interesting one. So let's go into this a little. So the ultimate detachment from the sense objects lead us to inner peace, which is true. And the practice of forbearance ensures that we do not lose our peace of mind in the toughest of times due to external events. The equanimity opens the door of immortality. Very true. So again, I want to go into that. So total abandonment of the sense objects is the ultimate detachment. So again, what it means is that you do not allow the sense objects to run wild. All you do is you're taming them, you're controlling them, and saying you're not in control anymore. I'm in control. The seer, the observer, the watcher, this this awareness is in control. So that is the ultimate detachment. So you're no longer chasing the joys of the sense objects either. Is that abandonment? Then he says the patient endurance of all the pains is known as extreme forbearance. One of the most extreme pains is one we could have something wrong with the body, or even mental pain. Maybe we lose someone we love, or maybe we have heard something that may disturb us. Maybe we're upset with some slanderous words that have been said. Things like that. But it's when we endure it, when we're patient with it, when we see the pain and go through the pain without letting the pain overwhelm us. So this is the whole point of spirituality, is to become stronger. And what Adi Shankaraji is saying is that your peace of mind should never be disturbed despite the circumstances you may be in. No matter how tough they are, no matter how hurtful they may be or painful, you've got to keep your peace of mind. And this means, as you said, patient endurance. Take your time. Don't rush it. So for example, say you lose a loved one. Death is something that we all will have to face, either of ourselves or our loved ones. It's that patient endurance, watching the pain, observing the pain, seeing the pain of losing the loved one. Everyone goes through the pain of losing a loved one, whether that's the greatest sage or the president of the United States. Everyone has to see the loss of a loved one. But it's about being patient and enduring the pain, allowing the pain to be there. The issue that we find is that sometimes we try to suppress the pain, and we think that we're addressing the pain by suppressing the pain, but we're not. In fact, all we're doing is we're just suppressing it, and therefore it lingers on longer than it should do. But instead, if we just patiently watch this pain, this suffering, then it will go away naturally. And at the same time, we've maintained our peace of mind. And also, we know the nature of the world through this text already. Remember in verse 5, the self or the seer is eternal and the seen is transient. This world is transient, it's always changing. So, if we understand that this peace of mind is eternal because it's the seer, and that the loss of the pain, whatever causes pain, is transient, then we know where we need to go to. We know what we need to move ourselves to. So this level of calmness, this level of peace, of tranquility, then leads us to the door of immortality. Why would the door of immortality not be open to you at this point? You're already addressing the most brutal aspects of life, which is pain, and you're seeing it through patiently, lovingly, with calmness, with understanding. And that's important. So that's a sign of, and remember, still, Adi Shankaraji has still not got into the nature of reality completely. But what he has done, very smart, is really smart, really intelligent, is making our mind strong. You see, without a strong mind, a strong intellect, a strong buddhi, we cannot we cannot discern them between the real and unreal. So this is a really good tool by Adi Shankaraji. You know, it's actually a masterstroke. It's genius what he's doing, and and by doing this, like a lot of dualists think that we say that there's no such thing as pain, but here we're saying there is pain. We don't say there is no pain as non-dualists. We completely embrace the fact there is pain, and we don't ignore it. As much as these dualists like to think so, but we don't. We observe the pain, we watch the pain, we understand that the nature of the mind is to be in pain when it loses something or someone, or if the body has hurt itself in some way or has some disease, then it's going to be in pain. We know that's the nature of it. So we don't go against the nature of things. We see the oneness in the nature of things. This is the difference. That's the forbearance. That's the endurance that is being talked about. And, people like Amol Leela does not understand these nuanced point of views or these nuanced points in Advaita Vedanta, which is extremely important. If we really want to be true non-dualists, we need to understand these very basic things. We are not, the beauty of Advaita Vedanta is that it's actually not life negative, it's life affirmative. We don't say that, because this world is mithya, you need to abandon it. No, we say, this world is as it is. In fact, it is Brahman itself. So why should we be against it? There's no need to be against the world because we know that it's powered by Brahman itself. So that's the difference that we have, um, and only a few ever really understand this. So let's see, verse 9, verse 8. So the trust in the words of the Vedas and the Gurus is known as reverence. The concentration, the focus of the mind to attain the reality alone is regarded as clarity or the solution. Really interesting, really deep. I'm gonna go through this verse, Conrad. Then I'm gonna answer your question. Um, so the trust in the words of the Vedas and the Gurus. So what trust in what Vedas? What aspect of the Vedas? Only that which talks about the reality. Remember, in the Vedas, there's a lot of karma kand, a lot of rituals, a lot of the old gods. None of us worship them today. In fact, some of the gods have become obsolete today. They're not even referred to. So it's funny when people pick and choose what they want to follow from the Vedas. Um, but to be honest, the only thing of the Vedas that you need to be following, the words, is mainly the Mahavakyas, in my opinion. You need to have trust in the Mahavakyas. I would say just keep it at that. Don't um, or keep respect for that which talks about this nature of reality. That's what you need to have trust in. That's the reverence you need. And then the gurus as well. Anyone that teaches you about this nature of reality, anyone that guides you, treat them with respect. That's it. Trust their words. Trust that they are talking from some level of experience. Like for myself, I would say I'm not a guru. I have not attained liberation or enlightenment, but I know that I have progressed somewhat somehow spiritually. So I only talk from that level. I will never talk from. I only will talk about something high level and say that this is what so and so has said. And this is the way to be. If we are to be honest in our spirituality, this is the first thing. So the trust in the words of the Vedas and gurus is known as reverence. So we got to have that. Then the concentration of the mind to attain the reality alone. This is what I have. Like my focus is always about attaining this reality, or now it's more about being in this reality, resting in this reality, this formless awareness as much as possible. Um, and whenever I get a moment spare, I should spend that time contemplating on this formless awareness. And that's what we have to do. So, this is we have to bring our mind to focus on that reality. And that's clarity or the solution to the whole issue, to this whole game of existence. So, all that's saying or is saying here is that we need to have faith in the Vedas and the gurus, and we need to have concentration in the mind. We need to trust that we can focus upon this truth. So, Conrad, so you said when you say powered by Brahman, does that mean it's similar to Kashmiri Shaivism? In fact, Kashmiri Shaivism um, and Advaita Vedanta are more or less very, very similar. I mean, they're very minutely different. The best way to explain it is that Advaita Vedanta says that Brahman alone is, and um, and then if you look at Kashmiri Shaivism, it will say that everything is Shiva. Yeah, Shiva is in everything. Shiva is everywhere in everything, and it all points back to the one. It all comes back to the one. So, in a way, what we say when we say that, what we do say is that the the mithyaness of Maya, the unreality of Maya, that is powered by Brahman. So without Brahman, this Maya has no power. It gets its power from Brahman because it's one. It's not separate. Yeah. The moment we say it's separate, that means there's two. But Advaita means one, or not even one. It says not even two. Yeah. So that means there's no number to it. In fact, um, so that's and with Kashmir Shaivism is also a very beautiful way by saying that in everything you should see Shiva, and that's also again you're seeing the one. Yeah, uh, everything is this one. Nothing has an independent existence because it's only Shiva. So um, both have um, its base in non-duality. They just approach it differently, but in my opinion, either way is good. Like I think the new, for example, yes, it's important to be kind of following one particular path, but why not utilize both? If you can advance in both, why not? Or find whatever helps you in each of those paths, why not? So I function a bit differently. Um, but yeah, Um, so I'm trying to think. So the one thing to understand is with this level of faith that we talked about, this reverence, this trust, when one tries to realize the truth with a razor sharp focus, that person is said to have the clarity of purpose. You know, we look for purpose of life. This is the purpose of life, is trying to understand what is this reality? What am I really? You know, what is this I that I keep referring to? Whenever I say I am sleeping, what is this I am that is sleeping? What is aware that I am sleeping? That is what we're talking about. Um, and how is that reality which one sees through this practice, such as all the doubts are resolved? So, you know, it's through, we want to know that reality where all our doubts can be addressed, all our doubts can be resolved. And this is the thing. As much as we, one thing I will say about Advaita Vedanta, which is really important, is that it is a path for skeptics. You must ask questions. You must dive deep. You should not just settle for any old answer. So it's really important that we go deeper, we understand the messages, we question what we don't understand, so we can get further in understanding it. Because there's no point just saying yes, yes, yes to everything. Or if somebody tells you not to ask questions, stay away from them. They're not, they don't have your best interests. This is the reality. If someone just tells you, just trust what I say, no, no guru or even the Vedas was tell that of you. Even though Adi Shankaraji is saying, trust in the words, is to build up faith. That's all. That, you know, you will at least have something to power your determination. That's all. That's one way. Um, so that's what we can understand. Then verse 9, O Lord, when and how shall I become free from the bondage of this world? Such a firm determination should be termed as the wish to liberate. So, you know, when we feel that deep feeling that when will I become free from the suffering of the world? When will I go away from this cycle of birth and rebirth? When will I stop reincarnating? When will my suffering end? When we have that deep, deep feeling and emotion to remove that, to become free from such things, only then we have this firm determination for liberation. Then we say we want to be liberated. Then we go forward in it. And that's the key. Verse 10, a person who is equipped with the above qualifications and desires, his good should reflect on his strategy, the plan of action, so that he attains knowledge. So, there are two types of things, desirable and forthright. When our vision is clouded by our passions, we choose the desirable things over the forthright ones. But when our passions are burnt by our righteous practices, we choose the forthright things over the desirable objects. So, forthright tends to be, um, things that are directly experienced, that are direct, that can be, um, that is straightforward, um, or the immediate things. When inculcation of positive habits, this choice of forthright things can never be made, and without making a decision, anything that's worthwhile cannot be achieved. So again, it's basically we need to have the desire and the plan of action about what we're going to do, how are we going to do this. Um, So a person who is equipped with the above qualifications, that we talked about, detachment of the objects, of the sense objects, all that stuff. Um, and then we should reflect on our strategy. How are we going to get there so we can get the knowledge? So that may mean that we study these foundational texts. We study the Upanishads. We study the Bhagavad Gita. We listen to these words uh, from watching YouTube videos, podcasts, all this. That's what's so we make this strategy, this plan of action, so we can gain that knowledge. Um, Then verse 11, knowledge cannot be gained by any other means without reasoning, contemplation, just as an object cannot be seen without the light by other means. So knowledge cannot be gained by any other means without reasoning, contemplation. So we have to think about the knowledge. Actions by themselves cannot lead to knowledge of the self. Yeah. Practice alone cannot get there. We have to have reasoning. It is the underlying thought behind them that can be liberating. It's about having, it's about understanding our bhava, our intentions, seeing the reasons behind the things we do, contemplating upon them. Um, so only by repeated thinking and reflection of the reality one can grasp it. So the more you think about this formless awareness, the more you contemplate upon this reality, the more it becomes real for you. Because it it's always been real, but our mind has been clouded by our desires, by our habits, by our actions. So these cannot be done. And when the actions that are being talked about also are maybe the Vedic rituals. So we have to understand that we have to utilize our discernment, our vivek. This has to be done. We have to constantly reflect upon that non dual self, that formless awareness. We have to continuously think about it. Then we can grasp it. And once we grasp it, that's it. It's done. You're you always are going to be in the remembrance of this. In fact, it's not that you have to even remember it, it's always present. You know, whenever, say, maybe at work you're doing your analysis or answering emails, whatever. And then when you have that moment free, you think of Brahman. Even while you're working, it may be a point where you can be working, and in the background, for a few seconds, you can contemplate upon this ultimate reality and get back to work again without breaking your focus on your work. And that takes practice. That can only be done with practice, by um, continuously putting it to the test. So um, that's something that can be done. So we do need to have contemplation and continuously reflect upon the reality. Hey Guy, how are you? Good evening to you. Guy McDowellgy, nice to see you. So this is the most important thing. And this is why they talk about self-inquiry. Self-inquiry is just inquiry about the nature of the self. It's not just who am I? It's more than that. It's about inquiring into that changeless reality. That is self-inquiry. Understanding what we really are, and then focusing on what we really are. That's the key. Um, so in the Shukra Rahasya Upanishad, it is said, hear it from the Guru, hear it from a Guru first hearing, then think about it and meditate. This is the cause of full knowledge. Very interesting. Let me repeat that because that's pretty good. So you hear it from the Guru. So you hear about this ultimate reality, about this formless awareness, this Brahman, this Nirgun Brahman. So first you hear it, then you think about it, you contemplate upon it, and then you meditate upon it. And in the meditation, the dissolving of the false self occurs, and the shining forth of the true self is there, ever present, revealed, and that's how it happens. That's how simple it is. Um, Again, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it is said the soul is to be seen, heard, thought over, and meditated upon regularly. This is something that we need to understand. So it needs to be, this ultimate reality is first directly seen. We see this formless awareness, then we hear about this formless awareness constantly, then we think about it, and then we meditate upon it regularly. This has to be a regular practice, something we continuously do, not something that we pick up on the weekend, on a Sunday or a Saturday, and we go to Vedanta class, or we go to a satsang and we do our 1 hour and then or 2 hours, and then we come back and we're back to being a complete prick in life. No. There's no point being a saint in the satsang or in the Vedanta class or in any of the spiritual things that we do if we're going to be a prick in life, if we're going to be an utter idiot to the people that we live with. What is the point? Such hypocrisy does not sit well, especially when you have young ones around, because they observe the hypocrisy, and lo and behold, if you find that they're not interested in spirituality, that's because of what we do, because we're being hypocrites. So this is why it's really important in spirituality not to be a hypocrite. Practice is number one thing. Don't just go to a satsang just for the sake of appearances, or go to a Vedanta class for the sake of appearances, or reading spiritual books for the sake of appearances. You must do everything with the intention that we are going to practice and keep practicing and keep learning and keep going forward no matter what happens. We may fall. The number one thing is, it's not enough to just say we're not perfect, we're going to fail. It's about picking yourself up and trying again and showing others, mainly the people that are around you in your own family, that this path is not about giving up. It's about continuously trying and trying and trying. So I know I've gone on a bit of a rant, but my point is we must continuously meditate upon this one, continuously focus upon this true self. Make this practice a day-to-day thing rather than once a week phenomenon. Um, so that's my that's just my 2 cents. Gaiji, you say that very much like a lecture at uni, lecture, write, and read to think about it. Hopefully it sticks. Yes, exactly. In fact, we learn something at school. I remember when I was in high school, we would learn something. First we attend the class, we learn, we listen, then we learn, we do practice examples, and then we revise the method. Similarly, in spirituality, it's the same thing. But for some reason, we think that with spirituality, somehow grace will appear. But you know how grace really starts working? By practice. When we practice, then it happens. Then grace comes to help, comes to aid us in our journey. Um, I know I'm speaking from experience on this point, on the grace aspect, that sometimes I don't know what has allowed me to take leaps in the spiritual journey. What's allowed me to have the courage to do such things. And that's where I think grace has come in. One could turn around and give any other word or explanation. That's fine. I'll probably even accept that as well. But for me, grace is not something so supernatural. It's it's the whole of existence just helping you to understand that there is only this reality and that you shouldn't fall in love with the transient nature of things. So let's go to verse 12. This is a good one. Who am I? How this world got created? Who is its creator? Of what material is this world composed of? This is the way of that contemplation. Ramana Maharishi, um, you know, 1,000 pranams to him, because he made this, probably this one line, the most important. And in fact, it's spearheaded, um, and it's provoked a real revolution in spirituality, where people from the West have been interested by a man who didn't have any spiritual practice prior to his realization. But if you think about it, this man, Ramana Maharishi, has not said anything different to this text so far. In Aparokshanubhuti, you'll find that Ramana has talked about these things somewhere, somehow or another. He has mentioned those very things. So this is really important. So who am I? How did this world get created? Who is its creator? And of what material is this world composed of? This is the way of that contemplation. So again, Adi Shankaraji giving us a method, Ramana Maharishi. So Ramana, you must have heard of Ramana. He's very popular, especially in the um, even in the pseudo non-dual circles. He's popular, even though they reject him as an authority. Um, so um, well, they pick and choose when they want to utilize him. So where was I? So yes. So in the next four verses, Adi Shankaraji is going to go over the questions. Yeah, occult Theo, all of them. I saw yesterday, thinking about pseudo non-duality, I saw a very young chap have a conversation with Emerson. I sent it to Martin, who I think this is a bit late for him. Normally he comes on when I start at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, but Martin, we speak on Patreon. He is very kind to support the channel and support the podcast. And I sent it to him, and I was like, damn, Emerson has got someone. This is a young chap, I think from Florida. It's not far from where I am, just in a different state. And he's fallen in the trap of pseudo non-duality. Although by the way, just to say, I have tried to reach out to a few of the pseudo non-dual teachers to see if they have a conversation with me for my Patreon exclusive podcast. Let's see if they will ever accept my invitation. But I'm going to try and reach out to the young chap, because I think he needs to be saved. Well, not that he needs to be saved. It's up to him. He may find that there's more joy. Like for example, today when I saw Paul Theo's YouTube live, he had over 100 people on his live. Over here, we've had three. I think I haven't got above three, maybe four I've touched of continuous people watching it continuously. And this shows you that um, it's very easy for people to fall under something that will give them an easy prescription to get over their suffering. If you tell them there is no body, there's no one there, why are you suffering? There's no such thing as suffering. Um, it's uh, it's very easy for them to get over. It's an easy bypass. Um, but yes, I mean, again, with pseudo non-duality and traditional Advaita Vedanta, there are some um, there are some similarities, and we should appreciate. I mean, like I appreciate their tenacity, the 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 passion they have to talk about their message. So I I can't be against that. But what I am against is whether this serves a greater purpose, whether whether this realization they have will be everlasting, or will it become another game of the ego. And unfortunately, I've not been proven otherwise on this matter, but it's always the latter. It becomes egoic. I've not seen a humble um, pseudo non-dualist. I've not seen a compassionate pseudo non-dualist. The closest I've seen is probably Emerson. The one person where I say I've seen the closest of. Um, but even then, I think when I did the reaction video to him, he said some pretty crazy things where I felt someone of compassion will never say that. And that's where the traditional teachings are very essential, because you have to have certain requirements to get to that uh, complete non-dual state. So, but we should all appreciate. We shouldn't have any hatred towards them, whether they're Hare Krishnas or whether it's the pseudo non-dualists. We shouldn't have hatred, and we shouldn't be like we want their channels to shut down. I don't care about them about that. They can have more people join, but the thing is, um, in my opinion, people like me should be more, should post more, should do more lives, just like they're doing, and being the alternative voice, and then letting people decide. And they can decide to choose both. Yeah, like it's fine. Um, I guess they will not appreciate my message, but I can at least appreciate theirs, and that and that is just part of living the teachings rather than pretending to be in some other cloud. Um, After 40 years of looking for a quick fix, I'm almost there. Oh, I like that. I like that. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's true. I mean, we all look for quick fixes. I do sometimes, but I've realized the hard way in spirituality, don't bother. Don't bother for the quick fix. Don't bother. Either you get deluded or you just lose all faith in spirituality. And neither of those things are things that I want. So yeah, that says a lot about the quick fixes. Um, could you do a reaction video to non-duality fun channel? It's animations trying to prove no consciousness. Oh, it's called non-duality fun. I will do a reaction video to that. Um, uh, yeah, as long as they're not hurting people, putting them in danger. That's the problem, Guy. G, is that they are putting people in danger and hurting people indirectly by saying you don't need counseling or therapy because there's nobody hurt, there's nobody there. So, and I've heard them. We've done reaction videos where we've heard it said. So I think there is danger, which is why I'm quite vocal about it, but also willing to have a dialogue. I don't think it's fair to just totally go against them, like as in becoming enemies, but you could say we're frenemies. But it's it's very important, I think, when I do these reaction videos against them, is to show that what they're teaching is not complete. So I don't have anything personally against a person. Um, I have a I am against the teaching, so to speak, more so. So it's me highlighting that. But sometimes, unfortunately, I am human, and I can, s- um, attack the personality, which sometimes is good fun. It's good fun for a reaction video. So, so what can we do? I want to Rupert Spira Jim Newman battle. Yeah, that would be pretty good. Or Swami Silver being under and Jim Newman. That would be pretty cool. Yeah, anyone, Rupert Spira um, or Sami Severbian under. Those are the two people I respect the most. Um, the journey is the fix, so you have to stay on it for the duration. Absolutely agree. Beautiful. That is very beautiful. Like that one telling the other to just walk out in the street. Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, just saying, don't look left or right, just walk straight. And then they nearly got run over, literally, like within a couple of minutes of the video. And I'm like, this is what this is why practically their teachings make no sense. You see here, um, with what Adi Shankaraji says in verse, I think it's verse 11. He says that knowledge cannot be gained by any other means without reasoning contemplation. So constantly saying that you need to think about it. There needs to be a continuous contemplation. This is the difference. Um, and yeah, it does create extreme spiritual bypassing. And I've seen whenever there is extreme spiritual bypassing, it can cause a lifetime of either delusion or pain. So, one of those two things, which is not good. But anyway, let's continue with our friend Adi Shankaraji. So now he's going to explain, who am I? How is this world? How this world got created? Who is its creator? And of what material is this world composed of? This is the way of that contemplation. So we can get answers. So verse 13, I am neither the body that is composed of the five fundamental elements, nor am I the group of sense organs. I am totally different from these. This is the way of that contemplation. So we understand here that if I'm not the hands or the legs, nor the eyes or the ears, then how can I be the aggregate, which is denoted by the word body? How can I be this group of things called the body? So this is basically what Adi Shankaraji is saying, and I completely agree. So basically, he is saying I'm not the body. Yeah, I must be different from this because I'm aware of these different aspects of the body. The hand is not me. I'm aware of the hand. Yeah. Say this hand gets chopped off. Um, you know, and it or say when we die, this body cannot be me because it doesn't, where has the me gone? So when if this hand is chopped off, then the hand is gone. I do not say, oh, my hand is um I don't feel that the hand is me, despite me being, one hand less. I still feel I am me. I still feel I am the body. So that's what we mean, is that, you know basically, on the higher level, we're not the body. um Why is it that I can't experience physical world beyond body perception of I'm not the body, or is body required for experience? Your body is required for experience. Without your body, that see your body as an antenna for the experience of spirituality. Don't think it's against you being, look, in non-duality, and there, like I said, it's life affirmative. There is nothing there is nothing against you in your spirituality. Your body can be utilized as a tool for you to get closer to understanding this reality. This reality has nothing to do with the body. In fact, it has nothing to do with the body. But it's through this medium that you can understand this ultimate reality. So respect the body in that sense. And that's very important for us to understand. Um, so so now Adi Shankarji is going to answer the question of from where this entire world has come into existence. This world has arisen due to ignorance and dissolves when the knowledge dawns. Various types of thoughts have only created it. This is the way of that contemplation. So, to explain that a bit more, is our mind is the creator of this exotic world. Think about it. Our mind has created the image of everything that we see through its myriad of thoughts. With the constant thought patterns, we perceive this world. We have created the world. Without without our mind, this world wouldn't be. So we need the mind. So just as our mind creates a virtual world in our dreams, in the same way it imagines a changing world over an unchanging reality. So how can this world be termed as imaginary like dreams? And it ceases to exist in deep meditation or after the dawn of reality. In dreams and deep sleep, also, it does not appear to exist. So, for example, in the Upanishads, in the Tejo Bindu Upanishad, it says, whatever seen entities and seer appear in this world, they resemble the horns of a hare or are an illusion. So, a hare doesn't have any horns really. It's just we we think it appears when it doesn't. For example, again, Adi Shankaraji uses the thing here, or the explanation gives. It imagines a changing world over an unchanging reality. This formless awareness is changeless, and this world and everything that occurs in this world is changing. So that's how we understand this. Um, so consciousness isn't experiencing unless in contact with body. Consciousness is also above the body. Um, when you actually experience formless awareness, is not of the body, in my opinion. My experience so far has been that it's got nothing to do with the body. The body seems to get some sort of residue of it, but it's not. But when you're in that formless awareness, when you're in that state, um, it's you realize that it's beyond the body, if that makes sense. It's yeah. I hope that's clear. You have to tell me. I need to know if that's clear. If not, do ask a question so we can understand it. Um, so yeah, it's very space time. The way it's created by the mind is phenomenal, right? But um, we do create a virtual world in our dreams. Now, for example, once we wake up, that virtual world of the dreams disappears. It no longer lasts. It goes away. Therefore, we know that that world was unreal. We don't start crying over the dream world once we wake up. We get back into the swing of things. We get back to work or go to school or whatever a day begins with. So, we don't cry over the dream. We don't start getting disturbed by the dreams. We move forward. Um, and likewise with this world, once we understand that we are this changeless ultimate reality, we're not going to be affected by the transient nature of the world and what it brings. We understand its nature. So we don't get disturbed by it. That doesn't mean that we don't necessarily may respond to the world. Of course we do. We live in it. We have to relate to its relativeness. But we don't have to be attached to its relativeness. That's the key. Um, so yeah, thank you, Conrad. Wonderful questions, man. Like I really love them. Um, it also helps me in explaining. So I appreciate them. Um, so yes, so that was about the world. And now uh, he's going to talk about the material cause of the world. So Adi Shankaraji says in verse 15, the material cause of this world is non-dual, subtle truth that does not decay, just as the material cause of the pots, etc., is clay. This is the way of that contemplation. My God, if there's anything that Adi Shankaraji does, it sometimes just amazes me with the level of simplicity and beauty in the way he explains things. In that one verse, I mean, again, if the Hare Krishnas could understand this, you know, in Hindi they'll say, you know, they'll have their kalyan, they'll be free, they'll be liberated, you know, they'll be released from this prison of duality. Um, so in verse 15, so let's go into this. So the clay remains the same even after its use in the pot. So no matter what the pot is used for, the clay remains clay, doesn't change. So if you see the pot with the perspective of clay, there is no change. You could have different shapes and sizes of the pots, but it's made from that one substance called clay. So the difference between cause, which is clay, and effect, which is pot, exists just for practical purposes. So we can say that the clay and pot are intrinsically the same things. It is the same thing. It's clay. The pot is just an appearance of a name and form, so to speak. Similarly, the supreme reality is the material cause of this world, and this world is not different from it. So, Conrad, actually, this probably answers your question a little bit. Maybe you answered earlier, or maybe I was thinking about something earlier and it wasn't you, Conrad. Um, but what a wonderful way of explaining how um, the supreme reality is a material cause of the world. So if you see the supreme reality as clay and you see the world as the different pots, you understand that actually it is that one Brahman, which is why the philosophy of Advaita Vedanta is life affirmative. It's it's life positive because it is only Brahman. Brahman is the cause of it. So why should I be against it? Well, the only thing that changes is we get rid of the ignorance that the world and Brahman is separate or reality is separate to the world. That's the only thing that changes. Or what we understand is, well, consciousness is the only thing, and the world that we see um, emanates from our consciousness, and that's it. And it's made of that same consciousness, but of different degrees of um, reality or different degrees of substance, so to speak. Yeah. As Swami Silvapriyanandaji talks about uh, Vedanta, when he quotes Alan Watts and says it's a crackpot theory. Um, but for the clay pot theory. But it's a wonderful one. I love the clay pot theory. I think it's, you know, you can utilize the same thing for gold. There's gold and then there's different ornaments of gold. You could have a necklace, you could have a bracelet, you could have a ring, but it's still made up of that same substance called gold. So you have awareness and then you have the contents of awareness. The contents of awareness is not different. It appears to be different, but it's one and the same. And this is why I like what Rupert Spira says when he says that it is our shared being. Um, a very wonderful way of saying it's all one. There's only oneness, um, and therefore there's no need to be against it. And then verse 16, this again extremely powerful. I am also non-dual, subtle, knower, witness, truth, and non-decaying. I am that reality. There is no doubt about it. This is the way of that contemplation. Uh, okay, my man has not even finished the text yet. and has ultimately just finished the text. Um, I guess what he's talking about is once you understand this truth, that's all. Verse 16 is if you can understand the reality from this point of view, from this point onwards, then great. In fact, the way I would see it is now you have to see the text as if verse 16 is your reality. Then it will make sense, the rest of the text. I'm saying this on a whim. Like I said, it was years ago I read this, and I may be completely wrong, but I feel that this is the base of the text now. I am also non dual, subtle, knower, witness, truth, and non decaying. I am that reality. There is no doubt about it. This is the way of that contemplation. So, for example, in the previous verse, it's mentioned through an example that there is no difference between the cause and its effect, the clay and the pot, gold and the ornaments. So let me, so let's, so Adi Shankarji then helps us to understand it through some of the attributes that I am. So these fundamental attributes are also present in the Supreme Self. So based on these attributes, I am not different from the Supreme Self. So let's go through this. I am non-dual. We are the shared being of that one pure consciousness. Uh, Subtle. I have a subtle form too, the mind and its thoughts and its emotions and its bhav, its intentions. The knower. I am the knower of things. I'm the witness. I watch everything. I am the witness of everything. The truth. These, there's an aspect within me, that awareness that is sat, that is changeless and non-decaying. Again, that consciousness and pure awareness that's localized within me is also undecaying. So that's where I'm non-different from the self. So is any duality possible in existence, knowledge or consciousness? The attributes that define my basic nature? Obviously not. There isn't. So we'll end it there in terms of the verses. We've gone through 1 to 16, which is pretty good. I think we've gone through a lot. And this is a solid base to go through. If you have any questions, do ask them, or any comments, or you can let me know what you think about what we've discussed today, uh, or anything you would like to re-emphasize. But here, in this very beginning, within the first 16 verses, we have been given the reality of what we are. He's literally broken it down. And this is why we went through Tattva Bodh and then Atma Bodh and now to Aparokshanubhuti. The reason being is so we have the basics already established, and now we're going towards the more deeper aspects. So what you can see what we're doing with this is it's a ladder, and we're going through different rungs of the ladder right now, and that's what we're doing. So um yes, so this is basically now going to be we're gonna go through this maybe next week. Again, we'll begin, um and we'll go through it, and we will I'll try and come on earlier, like at 4 or 5, so I can get the Europeans in. But sometimes it's quite difficult to do so. I don't know what time would suit everybody. Um, so yeah, tomorrow I'm busy. I'm recording Panchadasi. Yes, I can tell you actually when Panchadasi is going to be. That is a text that I will be looking at. We're going to go through a lot of the basic texts. Let me tell you, I've got it like on my Kindle on how it's going to be. I actually have the um, structure. Oh. Although I'll just give the warning, I am no Swami Sarvapriyananda, so or anyone from the Ramakrishna Mission or Nishji, um, if you know him from TikTok. Uh, I'm nowhere near their wisdom, but yeah, but I just love reading them. So I thought, why not do it when it's live? So we done that for board Atma board. We're doing Aparokshanubhuti now. Then the next one will be um, Panchikaranam. Then it will be Viveka Chadamuni, and then so it's mainly going to go through. So Panchadasi will probably be something we do right at the end. Um, yeah, I think it'd be something we do right at the end. But yeah, we'll do it. We'll go through it. I'll see how much. I think those were the texts I was looking for Adi Shankaraji as the uh, Prakarana grunts. Sorry. So they, they are the foundational texts. So, oh yeah, sorry, Panchadasi is on here, um, and I do have it. So it will be, it will be a while for now, but it's on there. It's on the list. We're gonna go through all of this. Um, so yeah, um, it's all gonna be good. So yeah, we'll be going. So I'll let you know. Actually, let me tell you what the itinerary is. Um, so we'll do Aparokshanubhuti now, then Panchikaranam, then Viveka Chodamuni, then we'll go through the 1,000 teachings. I forgot the English word; it's not on here. Um, but it's the 1,000 teachings. I think it's Upadesh Sharanam, I think. Then Vakyavriti. Then it's going to be Panchadasi. Then Vedanta Sara. Um, so yeah, there's um there's quite a bit. Then Drigdishya Vivek. Then Jivan Mukti Vivek. Then Advaita Makaranda. And then we'll go through some of the other texts like Brahma Gyani Valamala, then Bhaja Govindam. So yeah, there's a lot to um, go through on these texts. So yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be interesting. So yes, so yeah, we'll end it there. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you. Let me know if I do these lives. Is 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time good for you, or is 5 better, or 6? Um, for me, it's just dependent on my um, on how the week is. It can be here and there where I miss it. Like this week, I'm only able to do one live session. Usually, I'm able to do two or three. Um, but yeah, I guess it would be whenever I'm available. We'll work it out. But thank you very much for attending. Thank you for watching this. Do like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't joined my Patreon page and would like to support the podcast and this channel, check out the Patreon. It will really help. And I'm really grateful if you can. But understand if you can't. So, yeah, just take care, everyone. Stay safe. And until next time, your English time. So, it's midnight over there. Um, it's from 12th day. This is dedication, Conrad. This is dedication. So I guess maybe I'll do it a bit early. Maybe I'll start at 5 or maybe even 4 o'clock or 4:30, um, and do this. I think it might be a bit better if I do that. So, yeah, I'll probably do a bit earlier, but, um, but yeah, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Take care and see you next time. Bye.